Welcome to Stop Funding Ukraine with Ash Nerdman. So, in the Vladimir Putin interview, Putin goes down a long rabbit hole of Russia's past with Ukraine and its sovereignty after the world wars with Stalin and everything. So, Putin just wants to restore Russia to its pre-Soviet past and has basically decided not to worry about Ukraine as long as NATO doesn't come any closer, doesn't take any more countries towards Russia. And you know what NATO does? It does that. It encroaches, starts talking about bringing Ukraine in. So Russia puts its foot down and decides, all right, we're not letting that happen. We're going to try to take Ukraine. Now, this is after all sorts of talks of peace from Putin and NATO basically throwing it all under the bus. He signed peace accords and they trashed it. He is being sanctioned for resources and technology, which is what we always do when we want to destabilize a government. I say we, that's the West, Western government, CIA, stuff like that. All he wants to do is restore Russia. He seems energetic. He seems intelligent. He doesn't have a script. He goes all off of his head. He's using hand movements. He is up. He's at them. He doesn't seem to slander very many people. He's not talking badly about the U.S. government. He does talk a little negatively about Ukraine, but they are in a war, so it makes sense. Yeah. So Erik Prince is the former CEO of Blackwater. He's a former SEAL and part of the CIA. He was discussing how the West has essentially crossed the red line of Russia, as we mentioned before, with the bordering countries. And he was talking about how he established a plan to basically stop using our money and keep resources on the ground and stay out of NATO, which our government rejected and continued doing what they're doing. This was less for his personality and his character, but more towards his factual and his knowledge. He knows a lot about the subject, and he has a good opinion and viewpoint on such a thing. He also doesn't have a script. He's just going off of what he knows. So now we come to this press conference between Vice President Kamala Harris and President Zelensky of Ukraine. They're talking about further support to Ukraine, and Kamala swears never-ending support to Ukraine. Everything she has is scripted, from her responses and obviously her full speech. But it was surprising to see that she was looking to pay her to respond to people. But she also flourished in the responses. She was pretty monotone and mundane during her speech, but after 13 minutes, she started to move her hands when people started asking her questions. Otherwise, she was glued to the table. So Zelensky doesn't move, other than when he thanks Kamala. He thanks her for bringing him up. But other than that, he's holding the table. Every once in a while, he might bring his hands up a little bit, but that's it. He seems very spiteful, but he's energetic and vocal, and he can talk. Kamala was unable to do that compared to him. He definitely was good at bringing the point across, but the one thing I wanted to point out was at one point he claims that one of the Ukrainian goals is economic growth, and then a minute later he says Putin doesn't value people and the only thing that is important to Putin is money and power, which is economic. So I just wanted to show some hypocrisy there, which it didn't seem like Putin had too much hypocrisy, but it's a lot longer interview with different circumstances involved. But yeah, they were both scripted the whole time. I wanted to point that out. I don't even think the next one has a script. Yeah. So, and then with this one, Biden, he is talking about a border bill that also includes foreign aid. And he blames Donald Trump for the border being insecure, even though this is his 4th year of presidency. And he's telling you that if you don't support this bill, you do not support America. Meanwhile, the majority of the bill is not for the border and it's for Ukraine, which is what we've been talking about. And he goes on to say that this is very essential for America, which it isn't, the border is. And not to mention that days after this, Congress met and declared to do this without the border portion and just gave foreign aid out without our knowledge. So, to talk about Biden's actual personality here, I feel like he had the most pull on emotion. He seemed to be able to talk concisely for what I was surprised to see. He did slander a lot. He talked a lot of crap about Donald Trump. He talked a lot of crap about other people. But he didn't have too much movement. He did have a little bit more than the other two. I definitely put him above Kamala and probably right up there with Zelensky. But not as good as Putin, which is sad to say because this is my president I'm talking about here. Yeah, it's for me. This just shows how much people know and how much people don't. We're putting our trust in these people, and they're not. They're not doing with their money wisely. They're giving it to people and not knowing what's going on with it.